All right, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Discord. Good morning, Pittsburgh. It's snowing. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Friday morning or Friday afternoon or evening. Want to be inclusive. All right, so it is 9:17 a.m. Eastern, November 22nd, week before Thanksgiving. How are the markets doing before the open? S&P futures are flat. NASDAQ is down 0.1%. Dow was up 0.08%. Russell futures are up 0.24%. VIX futures are down 0.43%. Treasuries are up slightly. Short-term less so than long-term treasuries. Gold is up 0.69%. Nice. Crude is flat. Natural gas is down 5.5%. Bitcoin is down 0.48%. Asian markets, let's see, Japan is up 0.5%, was up 0.5%, and the Shanghai index was down, looks like 3.2%. Quite a move there. The dollar is up 0.93% versus other currencies. That's a pretty big move. Let's see. That was around 4 a.m. We saw a big jump. Massive move on the dollar. Too big of a move. What was that? Does that have to do with China? Not sure, but that is a massive move on the dollar. I'm sure all will be revealed. So Bitcoin did hit 100,000. It has since retreated from that level. Go figure. Big resistance there. But of course, maybe the volume wasn't too heavy. It's now trading at 98,105. Speaking of Bitcoin, how's MicroStrategy? MicroStrategy is sitting at 405. MicroStrategy is stock of the week. People on Reddit getting blown up from trading MicroStrategy. They're not as smart as they thought they were. Yeah, Bitcoin's had a pretty tremendous run. Yeah, no lack of liquidity, apparently, in this market. And that is an extreme rally over the past, what is this, 3 weeks? Went from, we'll call it 68,000 to 100,000. Yeah, so that's like a 46, 47% rally in under 3 weeks, looks like. Just about 3 weeks. This is very bubble-esque. We did have a massive rally earlier this year. Bitcoin went from, let's see, what was that? About 43K up to 73. So that was even bigger as a percentage, yeah. If you care about technical analysis, it is quite overbought on the daily year chart. And it seems like it tends to sell off a bit when it's this overbought. But, TA isn't law, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be fun to see what happens to MicroStrategy. That thing. What did they see? Like a 16% drop yesterday? Yeah, that's a big old candlestick on that year chart. Yeah, massive pump on a lot of stocks. Frankly, this these markets are looking really frothy. I mean, small caps, pick a ticker, you know. A buddy texted me yesterday, asked me what was up with Reddit stock. And I hadn't looked at the chart. I didn't realize how much Reddit was flying. And he said, yeah, I almost bought calls in it a few months ago. I said, listen, fill in the blank, you know, replace Reddit with any other ticker for a popular stock, and they all flew. How's Zim looking? Zim's back down. Marine shipping stock. What about Toast? Toast still going up. I mean, look at all these small caps. If you're in small caps, you did well. We're all making the same trade, basically. Small caps, crypto, we're all making the same trade. But, you know, some of the companies are in a better position than others, for sure. What about DraftKings? DraftKings hasn't flown as much as other stocks. Interesting. MicroStrategy tapped 500, then cannonball down. I think it went pretty well past 500. Yeah, it hit 548 in the pre-market session. And then I believe during the market session, the high was 543. So, yeah. And now it's back down to 403. So that was a massive move on MicroStrategy. That might be, I don't know what the biggest move of MicroStrategy is, but from 548 and then the close was, let's see, the low was 371.84, and then it closed at, what is this? Zoom in a bit here. Closed at 397. Yeah, so that's a $151 move. That's insane. Am I able to share my screen here in Discord? It doesn't work too well, to be honest. And yeah, YouTube, there's going to be, I don't know, something like a 5-second delay. But trust me, it's better than sharing my screen through Discord. I don't know why it doesn't work too well, but yeah. Well, I mean, it's Discord. I know that because it works fine through YouTube, you know, elsewhere. But yeah, the quality is going to be bad. It's not going to show up right. It's going to keep losing the stream. Yeah. All right. Market's about to open. Just got some news. So actually, this is about 10 minutes ago. Amazon's investing another $4 billion in Anthropic, OpenAI's biggest rival. This brings their total investment to $8 billion. But they are still minority investor. So, not sure what Anthropic's valuation is. Amazon had a little bit of a, what is this little spike here? Right back down. Is that the SPY overall? Let's check the handy dandy flex grid. We got the great 8 here until somebody comes up with a better term for the 8 biggest companies in the S&P. Berkshire not included, of course. The Google not counted twice. Yeah, what is this move on Amazon? It's a bit strange. Went from 198.50 to 234. Right back down to 198.86. Nothing to see here. Google's pulled back a good amount, looks like. Down at 165. Closed yesterday at 167.63. Looks like Apple's been steady. Apple hasn't really been in the spotlight recently, have they? Broadcom sitting at about 164. Meta's at 562, 563. Depending whether you look at the bid or ask. Microsoft's at 411 and 51 cents. Microsoft's looking okay at this price. Not as frothy as some of the other mega cap companies. Nvidia's at 146. basically held through earnings. Pretty interesting. No big move up, no big move down. As if the market said, yeah, this is correct. Everything is as we expected. Pretty interesting. Tesla's at 341. Market's fixing to open in about 2 minutes. Anyone do microcap? Yeah, pump and dumpers do microcaps. I'm not a big fan of microcaps. I mean, frankly, you got to know something. If you have insider knowledge, fantastic. If you don't, best of luck to you. And people tend to just pump and dump them. So, and most of the time they have no business. So it's speculation at its greatest. And my whole philosophy is if you have strategies that can make money, why do you need to take excessive risk? I'd rather place fewer bets with a higher reliability for positive outcomes than take 100 bets on very high risk and have no idea what's going to happen. That's been working out pretty well for me. Market's fixing to open in about 60 seconds. Let's take a look at the SPY. Yeah, what was this drop at 4 a.m.? Anybody catch any news around 4 a.m.? Well, not, were you up at 4 a.m., but anybody see anything? Because I don't. Because that's when the dollar had that massive rally. Yeah, dollar's now up 1.03% versus other currencies. All right, market's open. Let's see what mega cap companies are moving. General lack of dispersion between mega caps so far, although Google's a bit of pressure on Google. Google's being pressured to divest Google Chrome. In case you hadn't seen the news, they will of course appeal, and frankly, I'm not sure how that works. I understand the case against Google having a monopoly. I mean, never mind that every single mega cap stock has a monopoly, but I don't know how that works. That's what Google is. So I don't see how they just divest it. I could see them spinning it off or breaking the company apart, as plenty of other publicly traded stocks have done in the past. So I could see that, and I'm willing to bet investors would love that, and that tends to actually go quite well for companies in the long term. A few recent examples would be GE, 3M. Obviously, Google's much bigger, so yeah, they can't just sell the browser or whatever DOJ is expecting them to do or asking them to do. There's nobody that can buy it, and if any of the mega cap companies try to buy it, well, that would make them the monopoly. So it doesn't make too much sense. So maybe splitting up the company. Okay, I can see that. I think a lot of people would like that. But honestly, if you're splitting up Google, I mean, the way I see it, you got to do Amazon, you got to do Microsoft, maybe Meta. I mean, how many other companies would fit the bill? So S&P still flat. NASDAQ is down 0.15%. Dow was up 0.14%. Russell small caps down, or I'm sorry, up 0.48%. VIX futures down 1.6%. Treasury still up, and crude is now down slightly, down 0.16%. Natural gas still moving down. Bitcoin is hovering just below 98,000. Somebody's buying the dip on Google. All right. Let's take a look at some news. Gap reported earnings. And let's see, what are they up now? Or how are they looking now, rather? Gap is up 14.5% after they raised their fiscal year 2024 guidance, now expecting 1.5% to 2% sales growth. Well, that's nice. Quarter 3 earnings beat estimates with 72 cents for earnings per share versus 58 cents expected. Revenue rose 2% year over year to $3.83 billion. Gap is still fighting the good fight. Does anybody shop at Gap? I don't remember the last time I went to Gap. Looks like they're starting to pull back now. This is a pretty big move for Gap. They had a, what was this, May 31st? What was that move? Did they sue Kanye? All right, what else we got? This I thought this was pretty interesting. At least 50 U.S. retailers, including Macy's, Gap, and Nordstrom, raised store credit card APRs to record highs before the Fed's recent rate cuts to protect their profits. The average store card rate now exceeds 30%. I don't get why you go with these cards at this point. I mean, can you not just use buy now, pay later? I know they have, it's not free money, right? It's not free loans, but I'm pretty sure buy now, pay later can get you better deals than these really expensive credit cards. But that was nice of them to raise rates before the Fed reduced rates. I think Ross reported, didn't they? Ross did well, looks like. They're up 3.5%. Intuit reported earnings last night. They're down 2.8%. I think at first they fell solid. I don't know, what was that, like 11%? They issued second quarter guidance below expectations. That's of their fiscal year, that is, citing delayed TurboTax revenue. Earnings per share for the first quarter was $2.50 versus $2.35 expected, with revenue up 10% to $3.3 billion. The full-year outlook reflects 12 to 13% growth. Intuit's a pretty big company, 12 to 13% growth. That's not bad. About $185 billion market cap. Had some big moves recently. Guess that was coming off of election results. Major automakers, including GM, Ford, and Stellantis, are urging Trump to retain Biden-era EV rules, fearing deregulation would hurt billions invested in EVs and disrupt industry competitiveness. Elon Musk supports ending EV subsidies, potentially disadvantaging rivals. So it's a bit brave for Elon Musk, I think. I think it's pretty obvious that Tesla, in terms of profit margins, he's in a better position than, or Tesla rather, is in a better position than, say, the American EV companies. For some of them, Rivian, Lucid, then it's not even close, And Tesla also has, I mean, they have other businesses. It's not a big portion of their revenue or cash flow, but the businesses such as batteries and the credits, the EV credit business. So, which I find interesting that Tesla does make money off of EV credits because they sell them to other companies that are not meeting certain requirements. But that's become a significant part of the business. It's not massive, it's still less than 5%, but it's become a significant part of the business. And deregulating the EV industry, it's going to hurt more than just a few ways. So I get it. He's trying to stomp the competition. He's willing to take the hit, or well, not him personally. He's not going to take much of a hit. Let's face it. But the company will take a hit. But companies like GM, Ford, Rivian, Lucid, they're going to take a much bigger hit. I guess, since they mentioned Stellantis as well. But I am curious that, the profit margin side, that's a big point of discussion. But I don't know if now's the right time for that. I know plenty of people are not fans of Tesla's vehicles, especially now. I think their batteries are proving to not be that good, and values of Teslas have been plummeting, something like over 30% over the past year. For I think it was the base model, which is crazy. So overall, I'm not sure if this is the best thing for Tesla. I think maybe they could use continued credits or subsidization because they need to work on their business, I think. And I think they need to work on the quality of the product. They can't just rely on other EV companies not being able to catch up because, well, I mean, eventually they will. But I suppose when you're the world's richest man, you already made all your money. What do you care now, right? Either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Elon's net worth, I feel, can be impacted many different ways now. What else we got? Pinduoduo shares dropped nearly 11% after reporting third quarter revenue of $13.7 billion, which missed forecasts. Consumer confidence, competition, and regulatory challenges weighed on their growth. Well, that was actually yesterday. Yeah, it looks like yesterday morning they reported. And they're down another 3% today, trying to hold at about $101 a share. Pinduoduo had a pretty fantastic run, which I think was in large part due to Temu. Temu had ads in Super Bowl, and I mean, they were marketing like crazy. So they were taking market share from JD.com, Alibaba, and it looks like they're kind of giving it all back up. Yeah, not having a good time. I think meanwhile, JD.com, they're still up from before the sharp rally and then subsequent retracement. Alibaba, let's see. Alibaba's giving up a lot of gains. JD was, that had been a value stock in the watch list for a long time, and it was just, what do you do, with Chinese stocks? When are they actually going to move? When the market's actually going to perceive value there? Yeah, JD was they were top of my list for a long time. And I mean, all considered, I guess they're holding up better than other Chinese companies. Let's not forget BYD. BYD's doing well. Chinese tech ETF is down about 2.4%. Even that's still holding up above the pre-massive rally. All right, SPY's had a nice move up. It's now up 0.28%. NASDAQ is up 0.09%. Dow's up 0.56%. We'll have a look at the components in a second. Russell's up 0.75%. And let's see, where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin's down 0.6%. MicroStrategy is up a bit, up at 415. All right, let's see. What's moving the Dow? Oh, yeah, NVIDIA's now in the Dow. Very nice. Nike's up 2.2%. Any news there? They got an upgrade. Needham's not the... They're an analyst firm, but, you know, not that big of a deal. Okay. Nike looks interesting here. IBM is up 1.5%. Honeywell, Procter & Gamble, Merck's up 1.2%. Walmart is up 1.16%. Yeah, it looks like NVIDIA, well, until just a second ago, NVIDIA was the only stock that's actually down in the Dow. I guess you could say Amazon and Disney, they're flat right now. All right, let's see. What else we got in the news? DirecTV and Dish deal has been canceled. DirecTV has canceled its agreement to acquire EchoStar's Dish TV unit, citing concerns over protecting its balance sheet. I think, what is that, DISH? Do they not exist anymore? What is EchoStar? SATS, that's the one. Can't remember, did they delist? Yahoo Finance is experiencing some temporary issues. All right. Well, at any rate, Dish appears to be a bit screwed. Potential Amazon probe. Amazon may face an EU antitrust investigation in 2025 over allegations of favoring its own products. You don't say. Shares dropped 3% following the news. Was this yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. They seem to be holding up all right. The EU will just collect a nice fine, and Amazon will change some fine print, and then carry on as they normally do. And then the EU will be back next year with another fine for them. Rinse and repeat. Google canceled their tablet. They've reportedly canceled the Pixel Tablet 2, signaling another exit from the tablet market after poor sales of its first-gen model. I honestly, I was going to say I forgot. I didn't even know that they had a Pixel tablet. Does anybody have a Google tablet? Pixel or... Does anybody have a tablet? I have an old iPad, and I've just see no reason to replace it. The Container Store, this ticker is TCS. I forgot that they were public. Oh, it's not looking good for them, though. Container Store announced that a $40 million funding deal with Beyond. Is Beyond, is that is that short for Bed Bath Meal? No idea. Deal with Beyond is unlikely to close due to lender agreement issues. TCS shares fell over 2% as the company seeks additional financial support amid declining sales and quarterly losses. They had a big pump in July. Yeah, pretty massive. They were up over 100%. Now they've just gone right back down. Looks like they did a reverse split at some point. Hey, Beyond Inc. I don't know who Beyond Inc. is. The U.S. Treasury is investigating J.P. Morgan for alleged links to a hedge fund tied to Iranian oil trader Hossein Shamkhani. I'll assume I said that well enough. The probe raises compliance concerns amid strict U.S. sanctions on Iran. And the stock is up. Yeah, nothing to see here. TJX, the parent company of TJ Maxx, says Trump's proposed tariffs could benefit its discount model, which relies on buying overstock already imported. I suppose that makes sense. What do investors think? Oh, TJX is, they've actually been doing somewhat well. So what are the bargain retail stocks? TJX, Etsy? Etsy's not looking too hot these days. If I remember correctly, they got pretty high stock-based comp. I don't think they deserve to have high stock-based comp. eBay's held up a lot better than Etsy. I would think they're very comparable businesses, no? Just business models in general. So is eBay just doing something way better than Etsy? Coke? What about Coke? Oh, man. Let's see. Is the Coke Pepsi trade, is that still in effect? They look quite similar as of recent weeks, months. What's Coke's yield at? 3%? It's kind of funny. I almost feel like a boomer saying this, but I remember when Coke's yield, people were looking for 5%. And I've seen it under 2% plenty of times. Or, sorry, under 3% plenty of times. And to me, I'm just, if you want Coke, it's for income. Yeah, 3%. Yeah, I don't know about that. They're no growth stock. And frankly, as I've told plenty of people, if you're over, I don't know, let's say you're at least 15 years away from a retirement. If you're not even 45, let's say you're under 45, I don't know, that's a good number. You don't need to look for income. Do you have a job? Do you have a stable job? Well, that's your income. Your investments need to grow, so you go for growth, and that's that. It doesn't make a lot of sense when, especially people who are young in their 20s, they say they're looking for income, dividends, stuff like that. That makes zero sense to me. You are in the best position to compound your investments with growth. Growth is going to compound a lot faster than your dividends. Yeah, don't go for income. Go for growth. And dollar cost average. And then you have time is on your side. Yeah, you get a paycheck. That's your income. Big Lots is considered bargain. Yeah, I guess so. Wait, they've been delisted, haven't they? Yeah, so you know, sure, discount, but yeah, I guess the only way you could play that is go to the physical store. Oh man, Big Lots, they just their management just had no idea what to do. They were sitting on a nice fat dividend while they were accumulating losses. Not a good company. All right, do we have any big movement anywhere? Let's see. Looks like Amazon couldn't hold a 200 level from yesterday. Amazon's dropping 197, getting closer to 197 now. It's down 0.5%. So Google is down 1.3%. Nvidia is down 1.8% now. Let's see. What about JP Morgan? JP Morgan's just kind of hanging on there. Interesting. All right. I got to look at my trades. Cassava Sciences down 13.5%. They had a random squeeze yesterday. They're giving all that up. MicroStrategy is up 4%. What else we got? SMCI is up 15%. Oh, man. What's going on here? Texas Pacific Land is joining the S&P. I want to look at that in a second. It's SMCI is just moving because I guess. Yeah. It's a hell of a move. Texas Pacific Land is joining the S&P. What stock is being kicked out? Marathon Oil. TPL. This stock is a beast. I don't know. It's as if markets discovered these Texas-based like land and I don't know, like these stocks, last year, at the beginning of this year. Man, wait, what did it start the year out at? Let's see. About we'll call it 550. Now it's trading at 1,000, about 1,600. Do they have a yield? Yeah, 0.4%. Man. Lower earnings this year? They did a stock split previously? I guess they're going to have to do another. And now they're being added to the S&P. Yeah, what a move. Implied volatility rank is maxed out. Is there any trading on the options? Yeah, I see zero, nothing. Yeah, okay. So that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, nobody trades this. Man, okay. What's skew looking like? Skew, as of yesterday, was at 156. Looks like 155.72 to be precise. So skew's ticking back up. That means markets are starting to get back into their hedges. Traditionally, anything over 150, you could consider that fairly high. It means the markets are paying up for tail risk protection on the S&P via far out of the money puts. And skew just compares the value of those puts to the value of calls, say at around the same delta. So far out of the money puts versus far out of the money calls. You get some kind of a ratio there. The skew, it's not a direct ratio. So if you see 155, for example, it doesn't mean markets are paying, 155%, or sorry, 1.5, we'll call it 1.5 times for puts versus the calls. It's, the formula is a bit more nuanced than that, but you can kind of see it that way. How much more a market's paying for puts versus those far out of the money puts, those unit puts or tail risk hedges rather, versus far out of the money calls. So yeah, markets are starting to load back up on hedging. And traditionally, I always look for. I used to just look at the 160 level. But frankly, we've hit 160 so many times on skew, and then we've had maybe 5% market corrections over the next, 6 to 9 months. And I suppose since retail trading has become much more prevalent in the markets, and frankly, if you're making this much money in the S&P, even institutions will say, yeah, load up on tail risk hedge. 170, I think, is a more appropriate level to look at. And historically, whenever skew hits 170, you tend to see a correction most of the time 6 to 9 months out. And if we look back in February, we hit, it was about 170. And then we had a 10% correction in beginning of August. So that was that was beginning of February. So yeah, that was almost exactly 6 months later. So skew called that one as it's called just about every other correction in the past, at least when it's at a really high level, 160, 170. It did the same thing before COVID, did the same thing before the bear market 2022. We can kind of zoom out here. It's probably tough to see if you're watching this on YouTube, But yeah, we did hit 170 in the middle of 2021 when markets were looking particularly frothy. And then we had the bear market. So yeah, something to keep an eye out for. And wouldn't you know, I suppose, when was this? September. So 2 months ago, it hit 170, 172. So that the timer has been set there. So I'm looking out 6 to 9 months, and we'll see if the markets have another correction. And frankly, if it's 10%, that technically that is a correction. So skew doesn't mean the markets are going to crash, but I kind of see skew as law when it hits a certain level. So I see 170. I am placing bets on the table that perhaps 6 months from now, we're going to have at least a 10% correction. It could always happen sooner, right? For me, I typically go longer term with my hedging. So like a year and a half out. If we're getting closer and closer to the date, so that was September, so what, March? If we're getting real close to March and the markets have just been rallying hard that whole time, then maybe I'll go shorter term. Maybe I'll go for like 6 months, 6 to 9 months, something like that. And, none of this doesn't guarantee that we will have a correction, but again, it's happened just about every single time. So yeah, the closer we get to March, we haven't had a correction. I am willing to convert what would typically be a hedge. I'm willing to make it a bet at that point. Put a little bit more money on the table. And whatever that point is, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to take some money off the table just in terms of your investments. If you're a stock picker, if you're just in the SPY, I mean, I've done it plenty of times. I'll go down to, say like one, retirement fund, one of my funds. I'll cash out like 20% of the SPY when it hits a frothy level. And then, if the SPY keeps going up, well, you're still, 80% invested, right? So you still make money. But if the SPY crashes, well, not only are you actually hedged against a crash to an extent, but you have 20% cash in that fund, or I do rather. And then if it drops to a certain level, I can start deploying that cash. So I can start buying the dip. So I don't mind missing out on some gains. I know a lot of people say to always be fully invested. I don't think you have to be. And frankly, if you're dollar cost averaging into the markets, you're never actually fully invested. So nothing wrong with keeping some cash on the sidelines. Don't necessarily try to time the markets, try to time recession. Don't pull all of your money out. Put a hedge on. Buy some far out of the money leap puts, or cash out a small percent of your portfolio. 10 to 20%, 20% if you're feeling like me and you want to have a good amount of cash. I mean, look at Warren Buffett, right? He's been cashing out. But difference between sending some cash on the side, ready to buy a dip, versus cashing everything out, trying to time a massive market crash or correction. That's how many times has that not worked for anyone? How are my YouTube guys doing? I haven't looked at you guys in a minute. Sorry about that. Yeah. EU charging Amazon, it's just a tax. Same with Google, same with Meta, Apple, Microsoft, it's just a tax. Cost of doing business there. And they pay it gladly, and they come back in a year to try again. Cost of doing business. Cost of capitalism in the EU. And for people on YouTube, if you wonder who I've been talking to, it's in the Discord server. The link to the server is in the About section on my YouTube channel. And then people in Discord, yes, these talks are live on YouTube. Albeit with about a 5-second delay. But, what can you do? Google's been a bit volatile this morning so far. NVIDIA's still down about 1.8%. Apple's holding up pretty well, up 0.4%. Meta's down 0.4%. Broadcom is flat. Tesla's up 0.5%. Amazon is down 0.5%. And Microsoft is, it's flat. How's Bitcoin looking? Bitcoin's down 0.8%. What about MicroStrategy? MicroStrategy's up 2.8%. I'm sure that's going to change every second by 1% or so. Good times for high-risk stocks. They are indeed looking frothy, though, so not a bad time to take some gains. Andy, what's going on, buddy?
What's happening? Man.
Making any trades today?
Haven't even. I just woke up.
Oh, nice. Oh, so do you text in your sleep? You sent a message in the server earlier.
What time? What time did I send it?
Let's see. I'm pretty sure you did. Let me see. Or was it last night? Yeah, it was today. It was
rolled out of bed.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours ago.
Okay. I just rolled out of bed.
Oh, nice.
I should say. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're changing facts here. That's all right.
Changing facts.
That's the state of our economy these days. It's not a problem. Hey, you might be set up for a position on the cabinet in the White House. SMC.
I'll be sure to at DDT on Twitter and ask him for a position.
Yeah. Maybe I could pretend to be Bill Huang. He has better credentials than I. Well, let's see. Let's check the big movers real quick. Companies that are moving over 10%, that is Viasat, finally is coming to life. Oh, we'll see. They had a massive rally yesterday. What, maybe like
20%.
was it about 20%?
20%, 21%, and now it's 15%.
Yeah, they
This
were up
morning.
$1.40 from about $6.80. Because a congresswoman bought $80,000 worth of shares. Pretty small amount, to be honest. And there are a lot of members of Congress that trade, somewhat actively, but it's not always like they know a secret or anything like that. So if the stock is just moving on that news, this is a bit much. Viasat was one of my losers. I was in them for a while, and then at some point it's just okay, like it's time to go. And then I just left some. I had shares, and then I just left some calls on the table, or I converted shares into some calls. And I was like, all right, if it moves, great. If it doesn't, nothing, no more big losses from that point on. But yeah, I think they still have work to do. They have a better business than these other stocks that have been taken off, like ASTS. But yeah, I guess a lot of competition, and yeah, not really sure why Viasat is just it's just a massive underperformer in that industry. But yeah, I don't think an $80,000 purchase of shares by a congresswoman is going to really change things. So I think they still have work to do for sure. What is this company? REPL, Replimune. I assume this is biotech. Clinical stage biotech company. And I guess they announced some results. Received breakthrough therapy designation status. And what's this? And will submit a license application to the FDA under an accelerated approval pathway. Okay, fantastic. Good job, biotech. ESTC, what's that? Is that Elastic? Yeah. Reported earnings, and they're up 15%. They were up, looks like, solid. Man, that must have been like 30% earlier. Pretty big move. Nice. All right. Did we have any other big earnings? Let me take a glance here. Let's check Copart. I didn't see anything about that in the news. Copart is up 8.8%. Yeah, I think somebody mentioned maybe buying puts on them, but yeah, Copart's, pretty big move, but they got a pretty strong business. Yeah, they're doing pretty well. That's a big move on earnings, and stocks had a decent year. I don't think they're beating the markets, actually, even after this big move. Do they have a dividend? They do not. Okay, what else do we have? Talked about Intuit. Mentioned Ross. Yeah, nothing else. Nothing else that I see. I see YouTubers. Will I ever upload videos again? Yes. Aside from market talks, right? Yes, I will start doing that soon. There are a lot of strategies, or at least a few strategies, I think people need videos to explain. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that soon. There are going to be some changes coming up as well for the server, but Yeah, yeah. I'll do videos again. I think Market Talks, I think that was probably like highest in demand, I suppose. But yeah, I'll start doing videos again. Maybe next month. We'll see. And I mean, if you guys have any requests for type of content, I mean, before I've just do like stock analysis, right? But I don't mind doing, frankly, any type of video. But yeah, the first ones that I'm gonna do, that I'm planning to do, they are gonna have to do with the strategies that I have, like the relative valuation strategy, probably a cash burn strategy, and yeah, maybe a few others. I'm covering secular trends. I'm trying to do in-depth research and analysis on secular trends these days because look at Druckenmiller. It's the best way to beat the markets, right? If you're a stock picker, that is. So you got to obey the secular trends. So yeah, I'm covering those for right now for the people who are subscribed in Discord. By the way, it's going to be changed to the structure, the tier structures for Discord subscriptions coming up soon. Talk about that, I guess, next week, probably before Thanksgiving. Yeah, but yeah. So if you're there, you will get all the content Tuesday. I got a lot of research for relating to nuclear power, and there's a pretty big watch list. A lot of stocks on that list, and I do classify them by industry and investment timeline. But yeah, and then I do mention, frankly, just about every stock that relates, that's involved there. And I am crossing out stocks that I think they're just not worth it. It's just way too much risk, or they have way too much to prove, don't have anything going for them yet. It's just, it's just not worth it. And the timeline, that's another big thing. You're investing in a company right now based on hype or, partnerships, and they're not even really going to start making money until 2028, So there are a lot of potential issues with nuclear power and the construction of nuclear power plants. So I think there's just there's too much hype around a lot of those stocks. And even the utility stocks need to take a breather. So yeah, that's going out Tuesday. Gonna have a nice discussion about that for the premium members in the server. And I already have plays on the table. So yeah, I know where I'm placing my bets, and gonna have a good discussion about that. Also, there's a company that is been flying high, and definitely one of the more popular companies, one of the most popular stocks in the nuclear power hype train. And yeah, that one I don't like it right now. I think at some point maybe it'll be a good price, but I found a company that owns them. So yeah, and they're trading at a much better price. And that one's, I already added that one to my portfolio, and that one's on the watch list as well. So we're going to talk about that company next Tuesday in the premium discussion. It'll be fun, good times. But yeah, as I mentioned last time, if you're on YouTube, you want to join the server, the links in the About section. And, FYI, we'll call it 80% of the server. Yeah, it's open, it's free, whatever. You don't have to pay for anything. But if you are curious, then, let me know. Whatever questions you have, feel free to DM me. And yeah. So I think for YouTube land, that's all I got. I'm going to sign off from YouTube, and we'll keep going in Discord. So if you want to join the party there, feel free. Otherwise, real quick look at the tape. S&P is up 0.07%. Nasdaq's now down 0.3%. Dow is up 0.44%. The Russell is up 0.94%. Big outperformance on the Russell. VIX futures are down 1.6%. Treasuries are now flat. Aside from 20 years, those are up 0.2. Gold is up 0.87%. Crude is now up 0.88%. I think they had a bit of a swing, didn't they? Yeah, pretty big swing there. Natural gas is still down 5.4%. Bitcoin's down 0.25%. It's pulling back up towards the 100K level. The dollar is still holding up 1%. So still, holding that massive move. Well, all right. YouTube people, have a good weekend. And if you join the server, we'll see you there. If not, then I'll see you Monday.